Okay, so this is the agreed upon time and coordinates, so we'll call this meeting to order. So, good afternoon, welcome to our final meeting of the Legislative Committee to Review and Oversight of Tahoe Regional Planning Agency Marlette Lake Water System for 2023-2024 interim. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Senator Scheibel?
Here.
Senator Titus?
Here.
Assemblywoman Bilbrey Axelrod?
Here.
Assemblyman Gray?
Here.
Assemblywoman Taylor?
Present.
Chair Daly?
Here. So a few housekeeping, the usual ones, you guys have heard them before. Please note that community members may be using their laptops and various things, so they're paying attention and listening, but don't take that as a sign of disrespect. We do have some of that work. When you come up, if you're going to do public comment, we'll do that again when we get there. Make sure you hit the microphone button, spell and state your name. We're going to have 2 minutes for public comment. We'll be timing that. So with that, let's go ahead and get to agenda item. Am I missing anything else? Let's go ahead and get to agenda item number 2, which is our first opportunity for public comment. We'll have it at the beginning and at the end. So we'll start here in Carson City. I don't see anybody down in southern Nevada, but we'll get there eventually. So whenever you're ready, please proceed, and we'll keep your comments to 2 minutes, and we'll go from there.
Good afternoon, Ann Nichols, ANN-NICHOLS, North Tahoe Preservation Alliance. Nevada Legislature's legislator, Tahoe businesses and locals, are you ready for another tax? If you are a Lake Tahoe citizen, you should be outraged. A compulsory tax you have never seen on a ballot is scheduled for a new draft Nevada bill. While you have had your hands full dealing with inflation, high cost of living, a new form of unelected substitute for government is coming to town with a new tax. 1 to 2%, who knows? That they are trying to call it something else. BID, Business Investment Tax District. We used to call this taxation without representation. Maybe we still should. BIDs have not been discussed in this forum. Why not? TRPA, 9 tourism groups, the Prosperity Center, Stewardship Tahoe, and the Tahoe Fund are trying to form Business Investment District at Tahoe that will tax every Tahoe resident to promote tourism, affordable housing, and transportation infrastructure improvements. This scheme will dip into the pockets of every local, since there will be a tax on just about everything except for groceries and gasoline. This is a workaround on the requirement that a sales tax requires a 2/3 majority approval. The proponents were not elected, and the governance structure that will manage this initial multi-million-dollar pool of yearly monies are not elected. The entity will be stacked with big resorts, as it is with the BID in Placer County. A non-governmental authority is going to tax your business if more than 20% of your customers are tourists. What gives them the right? They can call it a fee or an assessment or a tax, but you will pay it. In fact, the percentage will continue to increase as it has with other BIDs. Please hear the full story of BIDs before any approval. Don't listen to the TRPA echo chamber. Nevada citizens demand it. Thank you.
Whoever's next.
Doug Flaherty, TahoeCleanAir.org, FLAHERTY. Honorable committee members, cumulative impacts result from the tyranny of incremental actions when added to other past actions, resulting in the direct-indirect compounding of environmental degradation over time. Unfortunately, the workshop recommendations posted by this committee today signal a green light to the TRPA and its partners to continue their to continue their tyranny of combined incremental actions without first completing a supplemental EIR to the 2012 regional plan considering significant new information and changes over the last 12 years. Today, Tahoe degradation from 50 years of incremental TRPA project approvals, code changes and mismanagement are on display for all to see. This as Tahoe waters and beaches flounder under tons of trash, tragic micro and macro plastic pollution, chemicals, uncontrollable algae, and cyanotoxins, and pro-TRPA visitor assaults, which endanger public safety on a daily basis. The boot of the TRPA environmental degradation on the basin is heavy. An agency caught up in regulatory capture, a pro-growth, pro-development, and pro-international destination project mindset, whose arrogant behavior, lack of transparency, and demonstrated lack of consideration of public opinion is on full display. With your recommendations today lacking any real measurement of accountability, your oversight simply cannot be measured. This, like the TRPA failing to any real measurements of threshold progress based on substantial data, of which are simply modified at will or timeliness or kicked down the road. Today, it appears that you are all cut from the same cloth. Our once pristine, now degraded Nevada Tahoe resources deserve better from the TRPA and this committee. Thank you.
Pamela Sigdinis, full-time Washoe Tahoe resident. I'd like to quote from NRS Chapter 281A, Ethics in Government. A public office is a public trust and shall be held for the sole benefit of the people. Yet, all we the people, your Tahoe constituents, have seen and heard is example after example of this committee disregarding the public's fundamental concerns. Meanwhile, the committee has cozied up to the very agency and its influence-seeking partners that the people trust you to oversee. This committee has broken the public's trust by allowing commercial interests and tourism groups, many of which are here today, and taxpayer TRPA-funded staff to shape agendas and curry favor. While that may sound harsh, read recommendations 2 and 12 in your packet today. 2 focuses on funding more tourism activities by taxing residents as well as visitors. Don't be fooled. This destination stewardship is TRPA's fancy way to attract more visitors than the infrastructure and the lake can handle. Number 12, enhancing the visitor experience sits above mitigating the impacts on residents. That appalling recommendation gives permission to sacrifice residents' safety, needs, and quality of life. How about we share and transport some of Tahoe's 25 million visitors to your neighborhoods? Requests for business and transportation projects require huge sums of money. That means unfettered growth, economic development to serve TRPA's tourism-driven partners. Recommending such funding before determining the Tahoe Basin's carrying capacity, the number of people Tahoe can safely accommodate without hurting the environment, is frankly irresponsible. Public
thank you.
safety
You're at
is
your
an
2 minutes.
obligation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
I'm Rhonda Tyser. First of all, I'd like to thank the committee members for your consideration of our public input. As Margaret Mead once said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has, unquote. As a last comment today, I take exception to your 12th recommendation, asking TRPA to reset its priorities in its decision-making processes, work, and resources. You've asked that TRPA first prioritize the lake, but next you ask that they prioritize enhancing the visitor experience. And you make that a higher priority than mitigating impacts on residents or economic considerations. Perhaps I don't understand exactly what you mean by enhancing the visitor experience or mitigating impacts on residents. But I remind you that we residents are the full-time, on-the-ground stewards of the lake. We are the ones carrying out the best management practices and paying TRPA an inspection fee to do so. We are the ones picking up the trash from the beaches and plastic from the lake bottom. We are the ones putting up with the noise and disturbance from a flood of TRPA-approved short-term renters. We are the ones paying taxes and fees to repair the roads, and the ones dealing with traffic congestion and parking throughout our neighborhoods. We are the ones giving you the most unvarnished information about the real state of the lake. And most importantly, when the tourists leave, we are the ones left to love the lake. Perhaps you may want to rethink the order of those two priorities in your number 12 recommendation. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Robert Aaron. Thank you, committee, for your time and all of your meetings. Lake Tahoe would like to thank you, especially the South Shore where I reside, and all of the children that will be future users of this water as a drinking water. I think it's up to 12 million people this lake feeds. Again, a moment of silence for the lake. How about 10 seconds for everyone to think about the lake and the body of water that you guys are here to protect? Again, my motto, learn something, know something, do something. I hope all of you act like Mark Twain or John Muir would in your decisions. I believe the TRPA has looked towards economic vitality over environmental vitality. And I think when you lose the second, you lose both. All of the industries that are trying to bring more and more people into the basin are damaging it. It's obvious. Some of the towers that had been let up by the TRPA boards and their things, this is just the material since our very first meeting. This is all material that I've collected off of it. I wanted to bring pine cones and a pineapple, you know, signifying hospitality for a pineapple and enlightenment for a pine cone. But I didn't get any of this. But I want to offer these as a gift. I would like to give them to you guys, but I just think I want to give them to the TRPA members. For the plastic tree.
And not make personal attacks.
Oh, this isn't
Your time's up. Your time's up. Next speaker.
Skip, really?
Time is up. Thank you.
Wow. I thought this was a public.
Alex Sigdinas, full-time resident of Incline Village. Over the past months, you've seen a barrage of TRPA's PowerPoint presentations, had numerous collegial exchanges, and taken a few bus tours, snacks included. I trust you also posed hard questions to TRPA about rezoning for so-called walkable town centers in a place where snow falls by the foot, per a dense urban planning model that allows for 5-story buildings with no parking for its intended workforce residents, many of whom need a car or truck as a tool of trade. The congestion and missed VMT targets associated with a 10-fold increase in annual visitation from 2 to 20 million people in just 20 years. The implications for wildfire evacuation planning as TRPA greenlights large commercial developments, ever more trails and tourist attractions. They are selling a product that Tahoe's limited infrastructure cannot support. The decrease in lake clarity from 105 feet in 1967 to just 53.5 feet this summer, despite $3 billion in spending in the past 20 years. And the regulatory capture and ethical issues associated with TRPA governing board members serving on multiple Tahoe-related boards of organizations to which they can funnel tax dollars. So I urge you to attach strings to TRPA's funding. Specifically, ask TRPA to conduct an updated comprehensive environmental impact study and determine the current carrying capacity of the basin. Independently validate the cumulative environmental, traffic, and evacuation impacts of new developments rather than regarding each on an ad hoc basis. Finally, adopt a strong conflict of interest in our code of conduct for TRPA board and governors. We don't need yet another Chamber of Commerce or Tourism agency promoting Tahoe. We do need TRPA to be a truly independent watchdog agency. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Daly and committee members. My name is Andy Chapman, full-time resident of Incline Village and 35-year resident of Lake Tahoe. I am the president and chief executive officer of Travel North Tahoe, Nevada. Travel North Tahoe, Nevada is the official destination management organization representing the Washoe County portion of Lake Tahoe and our many tourism-related businesses. Travel North Tahoe, Nevada's mission is to encourage destination experiences that support a vibrant economy, enhance community character, and foster environmental stewardship. Travel North Tahoe, Nevada and the tourism-related businesses we represent support item B2 on the agenda to allow business improvement district formations in the Lake Tahoe Basin to provide sustainable funding for transportation and mitigation of visitor activities in the Tahoe Basin. Washoe Tahoe has seen increased pressures on resources within the jurisdiction, originally stemming from pandemic-induced travels that continue today. Mitigation of these impacts is vital to keep Washoe Tahoe and the Lake Tahoe Basin a vibrant destination for residents and visitors alike. Furthermore, Travel North Tahoe, Nevada and the tourism-related businesses we represent support the concept of a surcharge on overnight stays, item D5D on your agenda, and is grateful to the Washoe County Commissioner, Chair Daly, and this committee for bringing forward this concept for consideration. As previously mentioned, there exists a significant and growing need to enhance transportation elements in Washoe Tahoe and the Tahoe Basin as a whole. Similar surcharges are currently in place in other regions for the same purpose. Of utmost importance to TNTNV and our constituents is that the revenue generated in Washoe Tahoe are returned to our community to be invested in the transportation enhancements. While it's not clear that the language thus far achieves this, we would like to work with Chair Daly and the committee in Washoe County in regards prior to and during the legislative process. Again, thank you, Senator Daly and the entire interim committee for your support of Lake Tahoe Basin and the importance of protecting this natural treasure for future generations. Thank you.
Chairman Daly and committee members, I'm Richard Miner, 24-year resident of Incline Village. First, let me thank you for the work you do on behalf of the voters and other residents of the Lake Tahoe Basin. It appears that your list of recommendations that you have listened to those who have offered public comment and are taking seriously some of our suggestions for action by the Nevada Legislature. That said, I am disturbed, actually appalled, by a wishy-washy, and that's being kind, words from your chair who is apparently bending over backward to curry favor with Julie Reagan and the TRPA Board of Directors with items 11 and 12 in particular. I know there are statutory limitations on the requests for a bill that this committee can make, but frankly, those two items are much more important for the protection of Lake Tahoe and the residents of Nevada who live and work here than most of the other requests for drafting of bills presented in items 1 through 10. To wit, to actually fulfill this committee's required responsibilities for the oversight of the TRPA, you must ask the legislature to require, not to think about, to require the TRPA update the environmental analysis conducted for the 2012 regional plan and cease to use that plan as a basis for any so-called threshold standards in approving any activities requiring same until a new environmental threshold analysis is completed and the necessary public hearings held. I will defer to others for comments on item 12, which is also appalling. Once again, thank you for your citizens, for your service to the citizens of Nevada.
Brett Tibbetts. The committee has shown a lack of interest in holding TRPA accountable for what it does with the billions of dollars it has received over time. The TRPA comes before you today with its hand out yet again for millions of dollars from the state of Nevada. Yet no one seems interested in actually measuring whether the TRPA is achieving any results with all this money. 2, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your effort to steer the TRPA into better management by prioritizing its goals and place the lake first. That is certainly better than the TRPA's current mode of placing the lake and tourism equally. However, by placing tourism second in your list instead of environmental and safety concerns, in my opinion, you are giving the current crew running the TRPA a Mack truck to do what it wants. 3, wildfire and evacuation issues failed to merit a place in the committee's final report of recommendations. Chairman Daley is asking for the state of Nevada to contribute a fixed $2.5 million a year to the TRPA Lake Tahoe Transportation Action Plan. Chairman Daley, can you confidently state that you understand this plan? I believe no one can, as it keeps changing. Given TRPA's free hand with Nevada's money and its continued passion to reduce roadway capacities, you could well be helping to make Lake Tahoe the next Lahaina or Paradise, California. 4, it should be clear by now that the TRPA does not want to engage with residents. Ms. Reagan says we are prohibited from participating. Yet strangely, residents who are developers, members of the Chamber of Commerce, and casino owners have full access and participation rights to the TRPA, in the TRPA. Residents who are focused on the lake and its health are banned. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Committee members, Ellie Waller, the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency has lost their way. Without a healthy lake, no amount of funding matters. For example, the hypocrisy of encouraging more people to come to the East Shore Trail, so proudly espoused at the recent summit, requires building more parking lots to get more people on the trails. Economy over environment resounds. Transportation dollars being requested need to be held accountable. TRPA should have to complete capacity studies before the 2025 session for beaches and trails, public or private, all corridor segments, and at individual jurisdiction levels. A few examples of capacity studies that need to be done. Carson City, East Shore, where the trail is overly promoted, now with expansion, has known roadway capacity issues that need addressing. Douglas County, Zephyr Beach, U.S. Forest Service land, you've heard about. The newly opened event center needs a parking capacity study from the casinos as a mitigation. They have no on-site parking. Please be skeptical and check but verify exactly how funds are proposed to be spent with requests like the 777 plan. Duplicity in transportation funding before you today is clear, and don't be fooled that a business improvement district buy-in by Nevada will be accepted and create the desired funding source. Plans, and more strategies than one can count have been derived since the 2012 regional update approval. And the very same time the Tahoe Prosperity Center and the Tahoe Fund appeared as nonprofits that collect from donors to act as quasi-governmental agencies with no accounting and accountability, and have joined forces with TRPA, who always says they have not enough federal funding. Now the Tahoe Destination Stewardship Phoenix has arisen with 30 partner council members, including TRPA. They have not produced a memorandum of understanding to the public, and if they collect dollars, who is the fiscal agent? How are all these dollars that are commingled to complete or not projects held accountable? This is too complex to figure out and goes unchecked.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Erin Casey, and I am the CEO and president for a nonprofit organization called the Tahoe Housing Hub. We focus on housing stability in the Tahoe Basin, and I wanted to come and support the item that is outlined in your agenda packet specific to housing in the basin around impact fees. We have recently launched and piloted a program that we call the ADU Accelerator. Accessory dwelling units are an important strategy to addressing our housing crisis. And so we are developing this program to provide technical assistance to individuals who are willing to use their land and financing resources to build these units on those properties. Recently, we have been in contact with dozens of property owners in the Tahoe Basin who are interested in doing this and do have some financial resources. But part of our challenge is when we describe to them the costs of building these units, and that includes permitting fees, impact fees, construction costs, etc. It becomes harder and harder for people to move forward and actually develop that accessory dwelling unit. Programs like this, where impact fees can be reduced to that person who is building a unit that is 1,000 square foot or smaller, which most ADUs are, can actually make a significant difference in their willingness to move forward with a program or a project like the one we're proposing. Paired with a program like ours, where we're providing technical assistance to people who do not have experience in constructing or building housing, is a big deal, and it's at no cost to them. I did want to mention that this program, by the way, was funded by the Tourism Business Improvement District that is outlined and described in your board packet in North Lake Tahoe. But we see this program as being essential. You would not be the only state doing this. There are other states in the surrounding region, Oregon, for example, Washington,
Wrap
California,
up.
that have done the same. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Honorable Chairman, committee members, Elizabeth Learnhardt. I live right next to Zephyr Cove Resort, and I want to show you something that I found out just today. When I go and have to cut down a tree, I have to ask for permission from TRPA. When my neighbor wants to build a garage, they have to go through a lengthy permission. When our sewer district manager wants to enforce crumbling infrastructure, she had to wait 3 months and almost got a spill like it happened at North Lake. So it takes a long process. We don't have any handle on it. But when my neighbor, the Forest Service and Armark, puts a fence up like this or this, and I make these available to you, or this on 4th of July, where we can't go through to see what's happening there, and then another neighbor floats by in her float and sees that there are big machinery, that there are rocks being moved on the beach, that there's 5 stairs constructed, that there's a fenced area with environmentally sensitive plant and surrounding, because there's a riparian area there, that they're being bulldozed over, as we see in these pictures. Nobody even knows about this. I didn't know about this until today either. Where's the permitting? Does TRPA know about it? Why is the Forest Service and Armark giving they can go and do what they want without permission? This shouldn't be happening. Thank you for your attention. I have a gift for you. You need to learn more about Tahoe. This is from the Turk, UC Davis, and please watch it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Daley, members of the committee. For the record, Cadence Matijevich, C-A-D-E-N-C-E-M-A-T-I-J-E-V-I-C-H, Government Affairs Liaison for Washoe County. I want to come today to express our gratitude to the committee for the opportunity that you provided us earlier to come before you and share with you Washoe County's priorities for Lake Tahoe. We see reflected in your work session document today in items B, C, and D our priorities for housing, particularly affordable housing or housing affordability issues for workforce, for the public sector employees who serve the basin, teachers, firefighters, public safety, public works employees, and also for transit and transportation. We recognize that BDRs are the start of the process. There is still work to be done, and as the language of these bills comes out, we look forward to working with you during this session. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Reynolds. I represent Civitas, a legal consulting firm that specializes in formation of tourism and business improvement districts. I'm here to comment on item B2, specifically the request to draft a bill that would allow cities and counties to establish business improvement districts. The legislation is crucial for providing much needed funding for transportation, housing, and the mitigation of visitor impacts in the area. A business improvement district is an industry-driven funding mechanism that enables businesses to pay an assessment which is managed by a nonprofit to improve the economic sustainability of the district. The funds are allocated based off of a plan approved by more than 50% of business owners, weighed by the amount they contribute. Currently, there are over 200 TIDs across the United States, with 23 states having enacted BID legislation. most recently Illinois and Minnesota. One of the most successful examples of a tourism business improvement district is North Lake Tahoe, established in 2021. The district assesses over 4,000 businesses and generates $6 million annually, and these funds are used for programs including marketing, sustainability efforts, economic development, transportation, and business support, and visitor services, all which will directly benefit the businesses. I respectfully urge you to consider drafting a bill that would enable cities and counties in Nevada to form business improvement districts. This would allow Nevada businesses to remain competitive with other destinations across the country, and bids have been proven to be a powerful tool for economic and community enhancement, and Nevada cities and counties deserve the opportunity to benefit from them as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Toby Tyler, and I'm the vice chair of the Tahoe Area Sierra Club. I live on the Nevada side of the lake. The Tahoe Area Sierra Club represents community members across the Tahoe Basin. We encourage community members to explore, enjoy, and protect Lake Tahoe. The Nevada Legislature committee members have listened attentively these past months to both the public and the agency you are tasked with overseeing. We appreciate the attention you have given to TRPA and the issues facing the lake. We hope to work with you in the future to work more closely with community members who live in the basin, in addition to your collaboration with TRPA. Our members are very concerned about over-tourism in the basin and how that might impact wildfire evacuations. We are concerned about comments TRPA has made about not being responsible for evacuating residents and tourists in the event of a natural disaster. By building more parking lots and more development, TRPA unfortunately has not been able to reduce vehicle miles traveled, VMT, and key environmental thresholds. We are also concerned about the proposed hospital relocation away from its main population center, which will increase VMT in the basin. We are worried that this relocation will lead to a lower nurse-to-patient ratio and how that would affect patient care. Lastly, we worry about how the necessary helicopter and ambulance travel through the basin will impact wildlife and wildlands, especially Rabe Meadow and Burke Creek, which is adjacent to the hospital and home to beavers. And finally, we want to raise again the issue of herbicides being used in the Tahoe Keys. The Sierra Club won the lawsuit preventing herbicides from being used before non-chemical methods are used to eradicate the weeds. The Lahontan Water Board's Basin Plan says explicitly that non-chemical methods must be used, and only if they are not effective at addressing the issue, a chemical method may be used. Protecting Lake Tahoe has
wrap
to,
up, please.
I'm just almost done. Thank you very much. Protecting Lake Tahoe has to be done with care and consideration for all basin's residents, from the beavers to the cutthroat trout to the people who make up the Lake Tahoe community. We look forward to continuing to work with this committee and TRPA to address the serious issues impacting the lake thoughtfully and properly. Thank you.
Good day, committee members. I am Niobe Burden, North Shore resident and conservation photographer. While reviewing the committee's webpage for information about this upcoming meeting, I noticed a memorandum dated June 11th from Chair Daly regarding a solicitation of recommendations with a submission deadline of July 22nd. I do not recall this solicitation being announced during previous meetings. Could you clarify when the public was informed about this solicitation? In reviewing last month's minutes, I did not find any reference to the memorandum. Additionally, I reached out to legislative staff and received response stating that recommendations do not need to be formally submitted to be considered by the committee. Today's work session document includes 13 recommendations, primarily from TRPA's Executive Director, TDD, Chairman Daly himself. However, there are no recommendations from public input, despite numerous 2-minute comments from residents over the past 8 months. Many of these comments highlighted critical issues, including the need for TRPA to initiate a basin-wide carrying capacity study, a wildlife evaluation study for public safety, and comprehensive environmental analysis considering cumulative impacts since the 2012 TRPA regional plan. These are not merely complaints about TRPA from residents. regarding something minuscule in their backyard. Can Chair Daley or the Legislative Committee explain why these critical public recommendations are not included in the working document to be discussed today? I understand the committee is limited to acting on a final 10 legislative measures, but it is crucial to ensure public input is adequately represented. It is more than evident, looking at this document, that it currently is not. Thank you for your attention to these items. While reviewing the upcoming work session document, I'm happy to restate them for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. And if there's anybody else needs to come up and fill the chairs, so anyway, you're up. Thank you. You turn your mic on. Is the white button on?
Now it is. Scott Teach, North Lake Tahoe resident, 45 years in just a couple of months. I scrapped my notes because most of what I was concerned with has already been said. I'll talk about two things real quick though. Well, three. I see that the document was dated today, so if you haven't read it already, I request that you read it slowly. Please, if you don't understand business improvement districts, get some knowledge. I disagree with a previous speaker. I guess in closing, I'm just going to say I respectfully suggest do not provide additional funding to PRPA and its self-anointed partners until they prove they are not just after the next grant. And then as a final anecdote, please consider the people who are pro, they're all on somebody's clock, and all these other people who have spent hours, days, weeks, and years observing what's really going on. Thank you.
Dana Tibbetts, Tahoe East Shore Alliance. 6 meetings and 8 months into this wheel-spinning endeavor to support this committee's active oversight of TRPA's badly listing ship, we are more convinced than ever that Tahoe's tipping point into environmental and economic collapse is here. The basin is fully engulfed in an inferno of greedy schemes, backroom deals, and deep corruption. And the flames of this fire will not be quenched, certainly not by this body. When the oversight apparatus is no better than that which it purports to oversee, there can be no righting of the ship. We, the residents, stand as a witness to this travesty. It's a nail in the coffin and perhaps the final chapter in Tahoe's demise. Our hope today is no longer in the stagecraft of government in an age of globalism. We put no stock in blind guides and gilded chambers. We expect no answer from whitewashed tombs. We've watched the machinations of politicians play out like so much bad theater, and we're not deceived by this charade. You've neglected the most important matters of the law and justice and pandered to superficial schemes and deceptive stratagems to turn Tahoe into a cash cow. You've turned a blind eye to the real problems and been entertained by a self-congratulatory parade of dog and pony shows only to dispense costly benefits and rewards for more bad theater. Others will occupy the gates that have been destroyed, and the gavel that is coming will not be the hand of a man, but God himself will be the judge of this endeavor and all that comes from it. In the final reckoning, Tahoe belongs to God. Tahoe belongs to the people whose hearts and passion have not been sucked dry by mammon. God is not done, and neither are we.
That was amazing.
Do we have any other people wishing to give public comment here in Carson City? Seeing none, do we have anybody in southern Nevada? I don't see anybody, but nope, room is empty. With that, we'll move to the phone lines broadcasting. Do we have anybody wishing to give public comment on the phone?
Thank you, Chair. To provide public comment, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to provide public comment, please press *9. Caller, you're unmuted. Please go ahead. caller with the last three digits, 299. You are unmuted on our end. Please make sure that you are unmuted on yours.
Oh, okay. Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. This is Helen Neff, Incline Village resident. I sent written comments regarding item number 12 of the work session document rather than repeating what has been said by previous concerned local residents and constituents. And for the sake of time and respect for your time, I will just read part of my submitted comment regarding item 12. The preservation, protection, and restoration of Lake Tahoe is undeniably critical and deserves our unwavering attention. However, prioritizing the visitor experience above the impact on local residents is short-sighted and horribly misplaced. Over the past 5 months and today, you have received written documents from Lake Tahoe residents and heard hours of public comment requesting action on numerous items that are having safety, financial, and quality of life impacts on local residents. While the visitor experience is important to the local economy, it should not come at the expense of residents' well-being. Enhancing the visitor experience is a byproduct of a well-cared-for local population and environment, not the other way around. I urge this committee to realign its priorities to better reflect the needs and concerns of local residents. By balancing the needs of residents with economic considerations, Lake Tahoe can have a thriving, resilient community that benefits everyone, including visitors. Thank you for the opportunity to share these thoughts, to keep your constituents front and center. By doing so, we all benefit: the lake, the environment, residents, visitors, and the regional economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Broadcast, next caller, please.
You're unmuted. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kyle Davis. Today on behalf of the League to Save Lake Tahoe. I apologize I'm not able to be there in person with you today. We have submitted a letter for your record, which you should have. We just wanted to make sure to reiterate our support for agenda items 1, 2, 5B, and 6. Thank you for your time, and look forward to continuing to work with this committee and the full legislature on these proposals.
Thank you, Chair. We have no additional callers at this time.
Thank you. So with that, we'll close agenda item 2. We will have an additional public comment at the end of the meeting, which brings us to agenda item 3, approval of the minutes from the May 19th, 2024 meeting. The minutes should have been emailed to everybody. I hope you had a chance to review them. I didn't see anything that was wrong in there that I read. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Okay.
So moved.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Bill Bray Axelrod and a second from Senator Titus. Anything on the questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. With that, we'll close agenda item number 3, and we'll move to the main event, which is our work session for agenda item 4. So our committee policy analyst, Ms. Keller, will provide the introduction, walk us through each one. We'll have discussion and hopefully clarify a few things as we go along, and hopefully get through it fairly quickly. So with that, if you could bring us to issue number 1. We'll just take them in order.
Thank you, Chair Daley. Elisa Keller, Committee Policy Analyst. And as requested, I will be walking the committee through the recommendations included in the work session document, which is available on the legislature's website. The chair and staff of the committee have prepared this work session document to assist the committee in determining which measures legislative measures it will request for the 2025 session of the Nevada Legislature. The work session document contains summaries of several recommendations presented during public hearings, through communication with individual committee members, or through correspondence submitted to the chair, committee members, or staff. The proposals have been compiled and organized so that committee members can review them and decide whether they want to accept, reject, modify, or take no action on the recommendations. The work session document groups the recommendations by topic, and they are not preferentially ordered. I would like to remind the committee that as nonpartisan Legislative Council Bureau staff, I neither support nor oppose the recommendations that come before the committee. The committee is limited to a total of 10 legislative measures, which includes both bill draft requests and requests for resolutions. Additionally, any recommended legislation proposed by the committee must be approved by a majority of the members of the Senate and a majority of the members of the Assembly appointed to the committee. In addition to legislative measures, the committee may vote to send as many statements or letters of recommendation as it chooses. It should also be noted that any potential recommendations listed may or may not have a fiscal impact. Any potential fiscal impacts have not been determined at this time. Finally, please be advised that Legislative Council Bureau staff, at the direction of the chair, may coordinate with interested parties to obtain additional information for bill drafting purposes or for information to be included in the committee's final report. So with that, I will go ahead and move on to the recommendations. I will provide a brief summary of each recommendation, but please be aware that additional background information may be included in the work session document, and many of the parties who provided the recommendations are available to be called upon by the chair to answer questions as necessary. So the first recommendation for the committee's consideration is under the heading of water safety, and the recommendation is A1, and it is to request the drafting of a bill to prohibit the operation of any watercraft vessel at a speed in excess of 5 nautical miles per hour within 600 feet of the waterline of Lake Tahoe.
And thank you for recommendation number one. Before we take a motion on anything, committee, any questions on that? I believe this is one of the more straightforward ones. We're trying to keep in order with the theme that I've been trying to push, if you've been listening the whole time, is we have 2 states, 5 counties, 1 incorporated city, several towns and communities around the lake, but we only have 1 basin. So we want to try to be consistent on both sides of the basin. One just quick clarification when I was reading the bill, California has already passed. California already has the no-wake zone, is that correct?
Devin Middlebrook with TRPA for the record, DEVIN MIDDLEBROOK. TRPA has the 600-foot no-wake zone that applies to both sides of the lake. That is not in California state law, but we will be pursuing that, as you said, for consistency across the region on the California side as well. Understood.
I just wanted to clarify, and we've been trying to coordinate with California as much as we can on several of these issues. Because if it happens on this side, it needs to happen on the other side, so we've been working on that. Okay, that was my only question. So it's not in their state law. Hopefully they can match what we have or what we're going to propose at the very least and go forward. So with that, committee, I would take a motion to adopt recommendation number 1.
So moved.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Bilberry Axelrod, second from Assemblywoman Taylor. Any questions on the motion, committee? Seeing none, everybody in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Number 2.
The second recommendation, under the funding heading, is to request the drafting of a bill allowing cities and counties to form business improvement districts, or BIDs, to provide funding for transportation, housing, and mitigation of visitor activities in the Lake Tahoe Basin. And this recommendation was submitted by Julie Reagan, Executive Director at TRPA.
Any questions, committee? Senator Titus. I'm sorry, I was looking that way.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be a no on this when it does come to a vote. I truly cannot accept, I think it's a taxation, and even though the businesses will get an opportunity to vote on whether they're going to do this or not, it does only require a 70% threshold, and you know businesses are going to pass whatever increased fees they have onto the citizens. And so although I share the concerns and the need for transportation, this is an absolute no for me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Assemblywoman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That actually clarified. I just wanted the clarification that the businesses, this would not take effect unless the majority of the businesses vote on it and decide that that's something that they want to enhance the transportation around. Am I correct? Just looking for that clarification.
We can ask TRPA, or we legal counsel can chime in.
Erin Sturdivant, Legislative Counsel Bureau. My understanding is based on California law, and under California law, a tourism and business improvement district is formed by the businesses petitioning the county for the formation of the district, and then it would be a certain percentage, 50 or higher if the committee so chooses.
A follow-up, who sets that percentage, Mr. Chairman, if I may, counsel?
Erin Sturdivant, Legislative Counsel Bureau. It's up to the committee. So if you want us to base it on California law, we would keep it consistent with California law, and I believe it's a majority. If you wanted a higher percentage, it would be also something we could draft.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And thank you. Just a couple, any other questions?
I just, basically the same thing. I just want to make this clear that this is enabling legislation. We are giving the counties the ability to do this. This is not, so we don't, this will not be a 2/3 vote, or do we know?
That would be a legal question as well.
Erin Sturdivant, Legislative Counsel Bureau. This does not require a 2/3. It's an authorization.
Okay, so Senator Scheibel, you didn't have any comments or questions? No, okay, thank you. So real quick, just on this.
Chair Daly.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed you.
No, it's okay.
Thank you for kicking me in the head.
No worries. I just want to echo Senator Titus's comments as well, and but I do want to just, for all votes going forward also, I do reserve the right to change my vote at any time going forward on any of these subjects as more and more information becomes available. Thank you.
Absolutely, it's a given. I may change my mind on some of them as well, So anyway, so the way I understand this for the rest of the committee and the thinking, this was also suggested by Washoe County. Theirs was a little bit more narrow. So there are some questions that I have with the way this is drafted and how it would be, especially over what it can be used for. I know there were concerns by people that came and talked regarding, it's just going to be another mechanism to get more people to come to the lake and various things. If that's how it ends up as we draft the legislation and go through, then I probably wouldn't end up supporting it. If it is more focused, limited to these things, transportation, the housing, mitigation of impacts, then I think we're on the right path. But so that all depends. We're going to get a bill drafted. We have committee hearings. We go forward. California has these already. This is just something that was requested by the Nevada side so they can hopefully keep pace. Part of what we heard, if the committee recalls, is when we asked, I think first time in a long time or ever maybe, where we asked South Lake Tahoe to come and present to us, and they gave us a laundry list of things that they're doing, that they're able to do, how they're able to fund some of their projects and address the needs and concerns of their citizens. And this was one of them, which is why we're coming forward with some of these. How it ends up through the legislative process, we need to make sure we get it right, and I promise you guys we'll be working to do that. I understand the no votes, if that's where you're at now, but hopefully you reserve your right to change your mind, and maybe you will. Okay, any other discussion or questions? With that, I will entertain a motion to approve the drafting of a bill as outlined in work session item number 2.
So moved.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Bilberry Axelrod, second from Assemblywoman Taylor. Anything on the questions for the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Nay. All right, so record, we have Senator Titus and Assemblyman Gray voting no. With that, the motion carries. Number 3.
Recommendation number 3 is to request a letter to the Governor, the Senate Finance Committee, and the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means expressing the committee's support for a state general fund appropriation to maintain the state of Nevada's 1/3 share of operating funding for the TRPA for the 2025-2027 biennium. The historic funding ratio for the TRPA is 1/3, 2/3 for Nevada and California, respectively. And this recommendation was submitted by the TRPA.
Committee members, any questions on the recommendation? Seeing none, no questions. I'll entertain a motion to approve the drafting of a letter from this committee to the governor, leadership, chairs of the 2 money committees.
So moved.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Bilberry Axelrod, second from Assemblywoman Taylor. Committee, anything on the questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Let's move on to item number 4.
Recommendation number 4 is under the heading C, Housing. And recommendation number 4 is to request the drafting of a bill allowing local jurisdictions within the Lake Tahoe Basin to charge an impact fee to developers of housing units greater than 1,000 square feet. The fees collected are to be used to pay for utility hookup, impact, and/or mitigation fees for housing units that are less than 1,000 square feet and are deed restricted for sale or rent to occupants with certain income levels to qualify as affordable, moderate, or achievable units. And this recommendation was also submitted by the TRPA.
Thank you. Committee questions on this recommendation, Vice Chair?
Thank you, Chair Daley. I just wanted to confirm that this is true, that once again, will be enabling legislation, but are we allowed to have that be tiered? So if someone's building a 30,000 square foot home, it would be a tiered system, or would it be the percentage would be the same no matter what? Are we able to do that?
Erin Sturdivant, Legislative Council Bureau. In fact, the Constitution requires that you do that. The fee charged for each housing has to be specifically linked to the impact that it will have.
And any other questions? No. And to follow up on that, when we were discussing the work session documents and various things, and maybe we would have the TRPA explain a little bit on what their thinking is, and then how it would really work in Nevada. And what the legal counsel just said was, you may want to say, hey, you're over 1,000 feet, so we're going to charge you a fee for all of these impacts. But if that particular oversize or over the 1,000 square foot development didn't impact the sewer fees, didn't impact these other things, you wouldn't be able to, at least under Nevada law, charge that impact. Is that the way I understood legal counsel? And I don't know if you have any comments.
Erin Sturdivant, Legislative Counsel. So under the Constitution, to charge an impact fee or a linkage fee for affordable housing, the impact has to be directly connected to the impact that the specific development will have on the area. And when we say specific development, we mean like each house. And it must be roughly proportional to the impact of that specific development. So generally, my understanding of the way works is the local government adopts an ordinance authorizing these impact fees and then has to conduct a nexus study to determine what that impact will be before they can impose that fee on the development. To the extent you're doing it with an individual house, that may or may not be feasible.
And in this case, the local government would have to be the counties. We have no incorporated cities on the Nevada side, and this wouldn't apply to the California side anyway.
Correct. Though if there's anything I've misunderstood about the way this is supposed to work, you can certainly hear more from TRPA.
Let's hear.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee, members of the public. I'm Julie Reagan, TRPA's Executive Director, and your understanding is consistent with ours. Again, this would be enabling legislation that would give local jurisdictions more tools in the toolbox to support affordable housing, and these fees would be determined, the usage in collaboration with TRPA, but they would be with the counties, and potentially could form funds to support housing and other lower underserved members of the community. So I'm going to ask Devin Middlebrook, who worked with local jurisdictions on this one, to add to that.
Again, Devin Middlebrook, TRPA for the record. Legal counsel's answers are, again, in alignment with our understanding. I think at Tahoe, when you look at our development pattern, if a housing unit is being remodeled, that housing unit already exists versus it being new and taking out of our overall development rights pool. So that does have a different impact on our local housing stock and our ability to have housing for our local workforce. So that's something, as mentioned, the nexus study that would have to be completed before this could be put in place would look at those different aspects and look at potential exemptions. So if you do build something over 1,000 square feet, but it is deed restricted for housing, that's something that may be exempted out as well. And at the behest of this committee and the legislature on how those exemptions and scaling works.
Senator Titus, you're leaning in.
Well, if it's just time for comment, if there's, I'm not going to ask them a question. I just wanted to comment about this thing when they're finished.
Absolutely. I think we got all the answers that we need to do that. So proceed.
So this is another one that I cannot support. To charge a fee on one group to offset a fee for another group just is, for me, inherently wrong, along with deed restrictions. So I will be a no on this one. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Understood. I'll just say understood, and we'll move on from there. My understanding, this may be relatively narrow. The counties have to implement it, so it's enabling. The nexus has to be meet all the conditions, and if they charge a fee, the person doesn't agree, they have opportunity through the courts to say, nope, you did it wrong. Again, we'll draft a bill. There's a legislative process. We'll see how far we get answering all the questions that we need to have and get put in place if it'll work. But if it is another opportunity or tool to try to get the housing for the people that need it, mitigate some of these other issues that do exist, that's the reason it's on the agenda. So with that, unless anybody has any more comments or questions, I'll accept the motion to approve the drafting of a bill as outlined in work session number 4.
So moved.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Bilbert-Axelrod, second by Assemblywoman Taylor. Anything on the questions for the motion?
Mr. Chair, no questions, but just comments. You know,
Carry on.
I fully concur with Senator Titus yet again. And aside from that, you know, the workforce housing isn't a problem for the residents. It's a problem for the employers. Maybe people should be looking at the employers to do something, you know, and then again, with the deed restrictions, I am not in favor of that. But yeah, you're shifting the cost from one group to another group that has nothing to do with it, and just cannot abide by that. Thank you.
Well, if you're a worker who lives in the basin, you're a citizen the same as the rest, and yes, you're impacted. And same with all developments, they have to mitigate their impacts and try to get some things done. But anyway, we digress. Everyone in favor of the motion as presented signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed?
Nay.
Let the record reflect that Senator Titus and Assemblyman Gray are opposed. With that, the motion carries. Number 5.
Recommendation number 5 is under the heading of D, Transportation. And the recommendation is to request the drafting of a bill to amend Article 9 of the Bi-State Compact. This bill will not become effective until the state of California enacts substantially similar legislation. The bill includes 4 possible amendments, and if it pleases the chair, I will summarize all 4 and then pass it back to you.
Okay.
Amendment 5A for the committee's consideration is to establish the Lake Tahoe Basin Scenic Byway Corridor Recreation Safety Zone and allow the Tahoe Transportation District and their contractors to issue parking tickets to illegally parked vehicles within the safety zone. The bill will provide that if the use of contractors is allowed, the writing of tickets will not be incentivized by basing contractor pay on the number of tickets written, and this amendment will not become effective until additional elements of the Lake Tahoe transportation planning are in place. This recommendation was submitted by Carl Hasty, District Manager of the Tahoe Transportation District, with modifications by the committee chair. Recommendation 5B would clarify that the Tahoe Transportation District or other local governments are allowed to charge a fee for public parking at certain paved rights of way and off-highway parking areas along the State Route 28 scenic corridor that are connected by improved paved paths. The fees collected will remain in the Lake Tahoe Basin to be used by the partnering federal, state, and local agencies to administer the parking management programs, operate and maintain the public parking lots, the connecting trails, and associated facilities, as well as public transit that provides the public access to their public lands. And again, this portion of the recommendation was submitted by the Tahoe Transportation District with some modifications by Chair Daley. Recommendation 5C would add a tribal representative member to the Tahoe Transportation District Board of Directors. This recommendation was submitted by Chair Daley. And finally, recommendation 5D would impose a public transit surcharge on the per-night charge for rental of any transient lodging in the Lake Tahoe Basin. The proceeds of the surcharge are to be paid by the lodging operator to the applicable county for distribution to the Tahoe Transportation District. In Nevada, the surcharge shall be $4.25 per night. Of the $4.25 surcharge, 25 cents will be distributed by the Tahoe Transportation District to the Tahoe Science Advisory Council to support its activities. And the remainder of the surcharge will be used to support transportation needs in the Lake Tahoe Basin. The board of the Tahoe Transportation District will have authority to provide a waiver of the $4 surcharge to entities that already have a comparable surcharge to support transportation in the Lake Tahoe Basin. And this recommendation was submitted by the committee chair.
A lot of moving parts there, committee. We can take each component one by one if you'd like, and then you can make a decision overall on the whole thing, but we'll have one motion on the recommendations. But so let's start with A. Make sure we all understand it the same so we can make an informed decision. My battery's going low on my computer. Okay. So on number A, regarding the scenic byway corridor and the parking issues, and we have a representative here that can answer questions. Questions, comments from the committee, Assemblywoman.
Thank you. And I have truly enjoyed my time on this committee, and it's been really eye-opening. I'm a third-generation Nevadan, and so to be up here and share in what you guys call home, I've felt very lucky. The parking situation was really eye-opening for me. Just driving up here, I had little ones rushing out in front of the car, and it scared me to death. I also heard that there were some jurisdictions that parking tickets were just like $50, which people were like, that's just the price of going to the lake for the day. So I'm a mom. Safety is paramount for me. So I'm very, very happy we're bringing this in so it will see continuity around the lake. And I just really, really appreciate the chair for bringing this. This has been, I think, one of the most important things that we're going to do in this oversight committee. So thank you.
Assemblyman Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of questions. One, where, and I think I know the answer to this, but where would the fines collected, where would they go to?
My understanding they would go to the Tahoe Transportation District because they would be the ones writing the ticket.
Okay, so we wouldn't be incentivizing the people writing the tickets, but it would definitely be incentivized to write tickets.
Well, if they are allowed to have a contractor, one of the things I told them, I said, either you're going to have your own employees and do that stuff. People have to be parking illegally first, right? And then as you read at the bottom of the comments, this would not be effective until there are alternatives in place. We have to develop, get people to have confidence in that they can go there, pay one parking fee legally, and then get to where they need to go with microtransit or some other type of public transportation that gets them to where they want to be. Those elements have to be put in place first. There has to be an alternative before you can do that. If, as they explained, they don't have the staff, the resources, it's going to be easier to get a vendor to actually do the groundwork. I told them I'd prefer that they were their own employees, but there's no way we're going to allow you to write a contract that gives them an incentive to write more tickets. That's how they get paid. Not going to happen.
Affirmative, and I agree with you on that. The other part is, I don't like the contractor idea at all. I mean, they're performing a law enforcement function. We've seen with the red light cameras where a contractor runs those, they sign the ticket, send them to law enforcement officer then signs them off, and then they get thrown out because you have a right to face your accuser. So I don't know that this would even withstand a court challenge, and I think we're looking, if we start writing massive amounts of tickets, we may be seeing a lot of people challenging these tickets. So I agree there is a safety problem out there, but I have yet to see the statistics of, how many car doors have been flung open in front of other cars and how many kids have run out in traffic and gotten hit. I mean, a lot of it is fear, but I don't know how much of it's reality.
Well, I can't tell you and I've been up to the lake more recently than in the past. Every time I've gone up there, that wasn't off hours, right? I've seen numerous cars parked on the wrong side of the fog line. Not entirely, but they got the rear fender hanging out. They've got the front fender hanging out. It's an issue. But until there's an alternative, there's not a whole lot to be done about it. So remember, there's a lot of steps that have to happen before any of this stuff gets done. When we draft our bill, we're going to share it with California. There's going to be dialogue between the two states. We have to have substantially similar bills. Otherwise, the compact cannot be amended. I know I was talking with Director Settlemile the other day. He had some concerns over legality and who would have jurisdictions. When I was talking with legal, when we were talking about this, so you're not taking away the right of the Highway Patrol to write a ticket. You're not taking away the right of Washoe County to write a ticket, or Carson, whichever jurisdiction it may be. So theoretically, the same person could get 3 parking tickets if this was in place. I'm sure that would be a pretty good deterrent. The consistency on what it's going to be on both sides of the state, we can write that into this on what it would be, at least for the Tahoe Transportation District. But this would be a last part of a comprehensive fix on the traffic that we're trying to put in place. But we have to have all of the parts, and we have to be talking about all of the parts and trying to move in the same direction with our counterparts in California.
And maybe just a rhetorical question for you, Mr. Chair. Are we maybe putting the cart before the horse then?
I suppose that we would have to come back and then try to amend the compact again in 4 years or however long it takes. So we're trying to get all of the elements, or at least address part of it, which is why this would not be put in place until other elements of the mitigation are going to be done, which is under the part with the surcharge in that, and it's not completely spelled out in there, but when we get to that, there will be things put into the legislation by design of, no, we're not just giving you this money and hope you do good work. We're not going to do that. And I've said that before. If you get this money, step A, step B, step C, and then if the parking, now that you have alternatives, we can start enforcing the parking. So it's the whole concept has to go together. I'm hoping to do the heavy lifting just once and not 3 times. I hope that answers your question. Committee members, any additional comments on this element of the overall proposal? Okay, seeing none, if everyone got their understanding of that portion of it done, there's a lot of questions unanswered, but that's what you have a bill, like I said before. So B, I actually maybe have a question on this one, but clarify that the Tahoe Transportation or other local governments are allowed to charge a fee for public parking on certain paved right-of-ways. So maybe Mr. Hasty can come up and do this. So who owns these parkings and right-of-ways and various things? Who has jurisdiction of them? And then each local government, when you're talking about counties or you're talking about, and we're only in Nevada now, you have Incline Village, they have a general improvement district, but I don't think that's the local jurisdiction you're talking about. Are we talking about the Forest Service? Are we talking about state public lands? Who has these right-of-ways? And then when you charge a fee to somebody for parking on someone else's land, how's that all going to work? Is there going to be agreements between them and cost sharing and revenue sharing? There were a lot of questions on this portion.
Good afternoon, Carl Hasty with CHASTY, District Manager for the Tahoe Transportation District. Appreciate the question. What we're seeking in all of this with parking is consistency, the ability to do this across jurisdictions, and that includes in-dot right-of-way. As you saw in the SR 28, part of the solution there is to build off-highway parking, relocate that parking. We have also begun to implement paid parking in that. 2 reasons for that paid parking. One is for some behavior change to try to encourage people to come at different times, not everybody at the same time. The other is as a revenue source to maintain the parking and even the trail. And this has been accomplished with the pilot that we've conducted with that North Trailhead we call, where that revenue is going to help maintain at least the kind of 0 through 5 years of the maintenance, because capital dollars are easy to find, operating dollars are not. So that's the intent of this. And similar with the enforcement is to have that consistency across, since we have a shortage of peace officers and they have better things to do, is the ability to be able to try to address that through other mechanisms and be able to provide that consistency. And the last aspect of that with both the enforcement and paid parking is to avoid the relocation of a situation. If you're charging in one area, you'll end up finding it's just human nature. Where can I go and I'm not going to have to pay? So we start to address a corridor solution here, then everybody understands it, gets the drill, and then we don't see that behavior start to shift in other areas and causing other impacts.
I understand we're limited to within the corridor and the areas that have been identified. So how many local jurisdictions are there? I mean, you got the 3 counties in Nevada.
28 corridor, you've got 3 counties right there, and then then Douglas County extends all the way along Highway 50 as well. And Douglas County's already begun to address this on their own. And portions of that, like along Zephyr Cove, and they've got their own pilot going here this summer.
So if we go with legislation along this, are you counting DOT as they own the right of way on some of it? You counting them as a local jurisdiction?
Is part of that, and that's part of the issue that North Trailhead parking lot, for example, is an NDOT right-of-way, but that right-of-way doesn't have the road. So if you're getting into a shoulder situation and you have a shoulder situation where you can make that safer or that parking safer and you're going to charge, then this becomes applicable within NDOT right-of-way, whereas right now is not possible.
So, and I'm just trying to understand it so we can help legal draft the bill. You said Douglas County is already starting to address some of this stuff and collecting a fee and saying, hey, we're going to have this paid parking. So how is this going to overlap with that? Is Tahoe TTD going to say, hey, we get a piece, we're the lead dog, and we're going to take your money?
Yeah,
and
I could answer that, Mr. Chairman. Carl Hasty again for the record. So if you note TTD or other local jurisdictions, the whole idea here is to provide the capability. And as we have found, what we do at Tahoe is we end up leveraging each other in terms of organizations. It doesn't have to be just TTD. If a local jurisdiction wants to take that on, then that's where we'll work that out. And typically, just like on the 28 corridor, what we end up doing is have cooperative agreements with each other about who's doing what so that we can coordinate and make sure we're building a seamless system that people can understand.
in a perfect world, right?
Perfect
So
world.
what you're
That's what we're seeking, right?
Yeah, yeah. What you're looking for from us then is consistency on what the charge is going to be, and then maybe some direction on what it should be used for after now that you've charged this fee. And this element of it would not have to wait for some of the other alternatives. If it's legal parking, we want to encourage that.
That's right.
Right away.
That's right. And you're not going to charge for parking if you are not ensuring that the public who's paying has a reasonable expectation of safety. And that's a component of this, is to make this a safer and more better understood parking situation and not encourage the less safe parking that happens so rapidly everywhere now.
So you're gonna make them pay for illegal parking, but through a different mechanism. I get it. I hope that clarifies some things for the committee and for legal when we draft some stuff. So some consistency on what the fee would be and use of the dollars might be something we would look at. Any other questions from the committee? Did we lose Senator Schreiber? We're checking. Oh, nope, she's still there. Okay. We lost your video for a minute. So any other questions from the committee on that element? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to C. And I don't know if there's someone for the tribe here today. Oh, we'll get to you in 1 second. So this was suggested to me when we had some discussions with our counterparts from California. I added it into our work session here today. California suggested it, and if we're going to amend the compact, it has to be consistent on both sides. So, Chairman, come on up, and we're happy to take your advice on this if you don't want to do it at this time, but we would ask you to call our counterparts in California.
Thank you. Young Meji, Cyril Smokey, Chairman of the Washoe Tribe, Nevada, California, for the record. Yes, first I'd like to say I truly appreciate the recommendation, but I wasn't even fully aware of this until recently. That the Washoe Tribe is currently not at capacity to fill a role of having an official member on this board. even though we are continuing to move forward to want to formalize that process. But a few things I want to just kind of throw at the committee, so for your awareness, is that you know, the Washoe Tribe, we will be bringing forward recommendations in the future, but those will be done by resolutions approved by the Washoe Tribal Council. And so those will come forward, and they will come forward to the Oversight Committee here and through California as well. Again, we're on both sides, Nevada and California. So that's where the recommendations from the tribe will be coming from. And when recommendations like this do come up, I want the board to be aware that when it comes to here specifically, this board, this Oversight Committee, the Lake Tahoe area, is that we need to be careful, because when we use the word just tribal or tribal representative, the Washoe Tribe of Nevada, California is the only tribe in the area around the Lake Tahoe area. There is no other tribe that can lay claim to Lake Tahoe, and we have that finalized and approved through federal court and through the Indian Claims Commission that was formally recognized as Washoe Tribal lands. So the Washoe Tribe will be bringing those recommendations forward. Again, I appreciate the recommendation. We don't have capacity at this time, but we will be bringing forward and look forward to still working with the TTD not in an official capacity at this moment, but we will be giving our opinions over and recommendations to the committee, but we're just not ready to fill that specific board right now.
Thank you, and thank you for pointing out the oversight there on the Washoe Tribe. That was not our intent, and we fully intended that it would be somebody from the Washoe Tribe. If you would do me a favor and reach out to California Senator Alvarado Gil, was her suggestion, and let her know that you're okay. We'll probably leave it out of today's work session, but keep in touch with us. I'm sure you'll get a chance to talk to future interim committees, and if it's in order sometime in the future to amend the compact for that on the Tahoe Transportation District. Happy to take a look at it. Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Thank you. I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you, Chairman Smokey. I was very, very moved by your words at the Tahoe Summit, and you can tell how much your people treasure this land and this lake. And so for you to come forward and be so thoughtful and say, you know, we're not ready and that it needs to be written this way, I really appreciate your compassion and your love of the land. So thank you.
Senator Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too want to acknowledge Chairman Smokey and being here at this table. The only part of this BDR recommendation that I was going to support was adding a tribal member, and I actually appreciate that you recognize capacity, recognize that it's a Washoe tribe, recognize that many times when good intentions are really not the best way to go. And so thank you for being here today and continuing to represent your people and the lake and land that you love so much, and being good representatives of that. So thank you for being at the table today.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, thank you all, and we'll probably be bringing this back next session. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. So moving on to the fourth element of this one recommendation, to impose a surcharge for all room night stays, trying to develop or have a revenue source for the Tahoe Transportation District to do their work. As I said earlier, you know, having the parking hubs and the various things, they have plans that are implemented. You know, have the hubs actually get those. They can get grants and one-shot money to build some of it, but then the ongoing cost for maintenance and staff to actually make it work So there's several elements on this that has to happen. First, you have to have someplace people to go, pay a one-day parking fee, and then be able to have confidence that they're actually going to get transported to their location, with the goal in mind is to reduce vehicle miles traveled, address some of the parking issues, do what we can so that the visitors have a good experience with less impact on the residents. Everything costs money. I know what my colleague is going to say from Yarrington regarding spending a nickel to do some good. It's anticipated and okay. The other part of this element, which I wanted to address, was the 25 cents. After that, I don't know how much money this will generate. I'm sure the 25 cents is probably going to be 3 cents in the end. But the Tahoe, I lost the words there. The Science Advisory Council is Tahoe specific. It's funded by California. Nevada pays nothing. I've been told by a lot of people on both sides that the council still gives advice and input to everybody that asks in the Tahoe Basin, Tahoe Transportation District included. So I think the zero from Nevada is a little light. So I think part of that would be in line on our side. 25 cents probably too much, but the surcharge, I fully intend when we do the bill that we're not going to just say, here's the money, hope you do good. We are going to lay out what we expect, what the order and steps need to be, and not try to reinvent the wheel. Work with every other agency, work with TART, partner with them, work with RTC out of Washoe County, work with South Lake Tahoe. Doesn't have to be one size fits all. We do want, and I think we have to have the Tahoe Transportation District, which is why we're going that route, because it already covers both sides of the state and eliminates some jurisdiction issue, to be like the lead. They're not going to tell DOT or Caltrans what to do, but they can coordinate with the other local jurisdictions, and I'm hoping that there won't be a turf war, which is also what we're trying to avoid, where South Lake Tahoe says, hey, I've got my money and I'm only going to spend it to address these issues. We should identify for the basin, like I said earlier, 2 states, 5 counties, 1 incorporated city, but there's only 1 basin. So what makes the most sense to improve the transportation in the basin? And it doesn't matter if it's on the Nevada side or in Washoe County or in Placer County or South Lake Tahoe. What's the next project that needs to be done? Pull the money from everybody and spend it, and it'll all come out in the wash. This is the way I hope this will work. And then trying to take into consideration, if the rest of the committee remembers, we do have Douglas County, which is where I kind of got the idea, is already charging the $5 a night to pay for their bonds. And if conservative Douglas County can do it, I'm sure the rest of us can as well. And then we also heard from South Lake Tahoe in one of their presentations is that they have a similar surcharge that they're already doing on lodging within South Lake Tahoe, the city, part of which is used for some other government activities, but part of it's also used for transit. So we didn't want to double up on them, but we don't want to just have a blanket exemption forever either, which is why we need to have the Tahoe Transportation District be able to issue that waiver. We may put in the drafting that it's an automatic waiver for 3-5 years, however long we say, and then they can look at it case by case as we go along. Those are all the elements that I envision on what this proposal, this element of this proposal is intended to do, and we'll get the language right. If we do it right, I think we'll be successful. We also have to get this over to California and get them to agree in a substantial manner. And then also one of the things that's not really listed there that we need to understand and make sure it's perfectly clear is that the TRPA is responsible for the transportation plan and that the TTD is going to have this, but they have to work within the transportation plan from their parent organization, if you will. Questions, comments from the rest of the committee on that one? I didn't want to put words in your mouth, Senator, so I'm waiting to hear you say them. Mr. Gray, Assemblyman.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, looking at all this comprehensively, including D, I represent Douglas County and Lyon County. I jokingly say that, I jokingly say I represent the most expensive part of the state and the least expensive part of the state, and along with that goes incomes. I think with a lot of these, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but there's an equity, to this. We're going to be making the lake inaccessible to a lot of people at this point, especially when we eliminate, the highway parking and start charging for governmental parking and parking lots. I can only imagine what that's going to cost in the end. And then going back to the safety issue, if this is truly a safety issue, somebody pointed out to me, rightly so, this is really a safety issue. Why are we waiting on California? Why don't we take the lead and get stuff done and do it now?
We have to amend Article 9. Both states have to do it, otherwise you can't amend Article 9. There are other ways to try to get this stuff done, but then it would only be a Nevada side issue. We need it to be one basin. I don't want to say it again, but one basin.
But if it's, like I said, if it's truly about, safety, we can attack it from our side at the county level and then go forward and incorporate it into amending Title IX later and have one for the entire basin.
And I think that hodgepodge in each jurisdiction doing their own deal, once somebody gets entrenched and gets a revenue stream, then they want to protect it. I'm just saying, it's human nature. I've seen it happen a million times. I think this approach is better, more comprehensive. Again, 2 states, 5 counties, 1 incorporated city, 1 basin. And we need to try to get that consistency, which this will do. Well, at least in theory. in a perfect world. Senator Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly appreciate what the issue is with parking and transportation, road congestion, and all of that coming, mostly affecting, in my mind, the citizens that are there, and then our visitors too that are at risk, and it is definitely a safety issue. I appreciate they're trying to have solutions. For me, there's parts of this suggested BDR that I can accept and others that I just cannot get past. And so I'll be interested to see how this does. Ultimately, it's written, but as it's currently recommended, it's not something I can support in its totality. So I will be a no on this one. I just want to comment, it makes me very nervous when we expand law enforcement duties to non-law enforcement agencies, and the writing of tickets and then the enforcement of that and the legality of that is something I'm very concerned about, that expansion. And so hopefully as this progresses, it's something that I can support. I do indeed want to mention that the Tahoe Science Advisory Council, I think they're very important and finding a way to pay for that, I think is adding that is not a bad idea. I do think Nevada needs to step up and help with that, but I'm not convinced this is the way to do it. So as it's presented today, and hopefully as these things drop, as you've mentioned multiple times, we're going to work on this. Obviously, we're going to remove, as I said earlier, that the only thing I really thought was a great idea was number C. So as this progresses and as we progress with these things and as the writing and terminology and legality of some of the stuff, I look forward to coming up with some ideas that will help with the transportation issues, but this particular recommendations today I won't be supporting. Thank you, sir.
Understood. Assemblyman Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wonder if the Washoe tribe would be amenable to having maybe a somebody that they appoint, at the tribal level that maybe not a member of the tribe that's still going to represent their interests. That way they would still have a seat on there and they could, if they do get to a point where they're going to have a tribal member, great. If not, they'd still have somebody that represents their interests.
And I heard the chairman, and I think he left. But at this point, I think we lean with his recommendation at this time. When they're ready, I think there's appetite. There's no one going to say no, they shouldn't be there. on that, back to Senator Titus's on the extending the writing of the tickets. And I know they have contractors that have done meters in Reno, which failed miserably, as I recall. I know there's private meter maid companies across the country. I'm like this far from saying, yeah, we don't need it. You got to do it yourself with no contractor. They said that that's an issue, and it's harder to do or easier to do with a vendor. It's the only reason I considered it. But so, any other questions, committee? Senator Scheibel? No. Okay. So at this time, members, I would accept a motion to adopt or request a bill draft under number 5, including A, B, and D, and eliminate C.
So moved.
We got a motion by Vice Chair Bilberry Axelrod, second by Assemblywoman Taylor. Anything on the questions committee? Seeing none, everybody in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Let the record reflect that Senator Titus and Assemblyman Gray voted nay. With that, the motion carries. We'll move on to number 6.
Recommendation number 6 was also submitted by the committee chair, and it is to request either a resolution or a letter to the governor, the Senate Finance Committee, and Assembly Committee on Ways and Means, expressing support for a state general fund appropriation of $2.5 million for each fiscal year of the 2025-2027 biennium for Nevada's portion of the funding strategy set forth in the Lake Tahoe Transportation Action Plan. Sounds good.
Okay.
We did a resolution last.
Okay. Members of the committee, sorry, I was just clarifying a couple of things. So this is the 777 funding, which primarily goes to transportation, as I recall. And I know the committee last time did a resolution. I don't know if we already got enough bill drafts, and it takes up a bill draft. I don't know if we'd run into our limit. So I propose just sending a letter to the governor, leadership in both houses, and the chairman of the Finance and Ways and Means Committee. So that was my thinking there. I don't know if we have enough bill drafts to do a resolution. No, we can do a resolution. We're still within our 10. So what does the committee prefer? Senator Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wondering whether you or staff has reached out to the governor's CFO or the governor's chief of staff regarding this to see if they already have it in their budget, what their plans are before, and they may have different avenues, and just wonder how much cooperation has been between the executive branch and this committee.
Thank you. I have not got that far. A lot of moving parts and various things, but I think for us, before we say, hey, will you accept this, does the committee want to continue and make a recommendation for this type of funding? I believe we do, and I think it then helps the governor with his decision-making process and the Ways and Means and Finance Committee's leadership in both houses. So I think the recommendation from us is really the starting point. And like I say, I'm perfectly fine writing a letter. If you want to go through all the gyrations and drafting a bill and doing a resolution, we can do that if that's the will of the committee, but I think a letter's just as good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I might follow up on that, then I definitely prefer, I could get behind a letter of support as opposed to a resolution.
Yeah, and I think it basically amounts to the same thing. It's showing support from this committee for that. I don't know that we need to spend all the time and effort on a resolution. Any other questions, comments from the committee? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to send a letter of support from the committee to have Nevada fund its share of the 777 plan.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion from Vice Chair Bilber Axelrod, second from Senator Titus. Anything on the questions committee? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So with that, at this point, before we keep going, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Nature calls. So we'll be in recess for a few minutes.
Something on a Post-it note to you, so it's probably my fault, right?
Okay, I think we're going to call the meeting back to order. Committee, we'll be back to order. Thank you. Number 7.
Recommendation number 7 is under the heading of reporting requirements, and recommendation number 7 is to request the drafting of a bill, again with 2 elements, amending or eliminating certain reporting requirements by the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources as follows. Recommendation 7A is to eliminate the requirement for annual reporting to the Legislative Council Bureau regarding fire prevention and forest health in the Nevada portion of the Lake Tahoe Basin. The report is required by NRS 528.150 and was established in 2009. The recommendation was submitted by Casey Casey, the State Forester Fire Warden, and according to DCNR, the report has become obsolete and redundant. Recommendation 7B is to amend the reporting requirement to the Nevada Board of Examiners regarding the Nevada Land Bank report on lands or interests in lands transferred, sold, exchanged, or leased in the Tahoe Basin from quarterly to annually. And I have a correction to the work session document. The report is actually required by NRS 321.5954. And according to DCNR, all Nevada Land Bank coverage sales, purchases, and transfers will continue to be reported to TRPA as required by a memorandum of understanding and are available upon request. And this portion of the recommendation was submitted by Charles Donahue with the Nevada Division of State Lands.
Okay, committee, paperwork reduction and all kinds of good stuff. Any questions from the committee on 7A and B? Seeing none, with that, I would accept a recommendation to request a bill draft as proposed in 7A and B.
So moved.
We got a motion from from Vice Chair Bilber Axelrod, second by Senator Titus. Anything on the questions of the motions committee? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Number 8.
Recommendation number 8 is under the heading of environmental improvements, and it is to request the drafting of a bill authorizing the release of the next phase of general obligation bonds in an amount of $19 million to continue to implement Nevada's portion of the Lake Tahoe Environmental Improvement Program for the 25-27 biennium, and including authority for the expenditure on EIP projects of any interest accumulated on proceeds from bond issuances for the EIP. And this recommendation was submitted by Charles Donahue, the Administrator of the Nevada Division of State Lands.
Okay, hopefully another easy one. Committee, any questions on the proposal? Comments? Seeing none, I will accept a recommendation or a motion to recommend a bill be drafted as outlined in work session document number 8.
So moved.
Okay.
Either
We
way.
got a motion from Vice Chair Bilber Axelrod, second by Assemblyman Gray. Anything on the questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Number 9.
Recommendation number 9 is to request the drafting of a bill to provide that a logging permit is not required for cutting operations conducted by a landowner unless the operations conducted qualify as a legally defined logging operation. And this recommendation was submitted by Casey Casey, the State Forester Fire Warden.
Committee, any questions on the proposal? Okay, I just have one comment. So I did have a question when we had this, and I said, so if they don't have to have this permit, are there other permits and oversight and various things, make sure they're not eliminating a sensitive species or one of the more desirable trees. And I got a long email back that says, yeah, there's like 4 different people they got to go through, and getting a logging permit when you're not actually a logging operation seemed redundant. So I was happy to put this one on the agenda. And Mr. Gray is itching to make a motion.
I am. I like this one. So moved.
All right. We have a motion from Assemblyman Gray to adopt recommendation or drafting of a bill for number 9, seconded by Assemblywoman Taylor. Anything on the questions committee? You want to make a comment?
Just
Vice Chair?
really quick. I think this is a great bill. Obviously, wildfires are a huge concern, and knowing that owners can, use their best practices to mitigate their building being subject to a wildfire is fantastic. So thank you.
Okay. Everybody in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Number 10.
Recommendation number 10 is to request the drafting of a bill granting the Nevada Division of State Parks an exemption from the requirement that funds collected be deposited no later than the next day, and instead allowing up to 10 working days for such deposits. This recommendation was submitted by the Nevada Division of State Parks, and according to the Nevada Division of State Parks, this requirement to deposit funds exceeding a certain threshold no later than the next day is particularly challenging for parks like Sand Harbor during peak seasons when daily collections frequently exceed the threshold.
Committee, any questions, comments on this one? Just the comment, I did get one comment from the former chair of this committee who said, well, I'm not sure I like that. And I said, well, it says they're collecting an amount that's over that. They're open later than the banks are. They're open on weekends when the banks aren't. It makes sense. And as it goes through the committee process, if 10 days is too long, we'll address that in whichever committee gets this bill. With that, seeing no other questions or comments, I'll accept a motion to draft a bill as outlined in number 10.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. We got a motion from Vice Chair Bilber Axelrod, second from Assemblyman Gray. Anything on the questions for the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Number 11.
Recommendation number 11 for the committee's consideration is to send a letter to TRPA encouraging the agency to provide the committee, prior to the start of the 2025 legislative session, the status of its update of the environmental analysis conducted in the 2012 regional plan and TRPA's threshold standards. And this recommendation was submitted by the committee chair.
Committee, any questions, clarifications? Senator Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During public comment, we did hear some concerns regarding this, and I just needed some clarification on the process of where they are with this update. And again, I think it would be important that we get it prior to the session, and it shouldn't be hey, will you please give it to us if, like, we need to have that prior to. So I'm just wondering if that's a possibility, if they're going to have it ready or not, and will this letter make a difference?
Well, we have some people in here that can answer our questions. And if they can't, summary execution.
Hello, thank you, Chairman Daley, Julie Reagan, members of the committee. I'm TRPA's executive director, and that's R-E-G-A-N, last name. Thank you for the question, Senator. A little bit of background. We've heard this consistently in our governing board comments. I've talked to many members of the community about this issue. Wanted to explain the 2012 regional plan process and the environmental review that went along with that. Was a very big process, went on for many, many years. Both states were heavily engaged, thousands of people in the community engaged in that. And that was looking out at another, 20 plus years and analyzing development caps. So we're working under the bounds of that right now. And there hasn't been another big action since then that would trigger such a big environmental review, with the exception of the shore zone plan. So in 2018, the agency, that was a programmatic issue related to the development potential of piers and buoys and safety and recreational access in the shore zone. And the agency did a large environmental impact statement, environmental impact report, that was part of that action. So that was one of the big actions that's been taken, and that had accompanying environmental review specific to the shoreline policies. So there hasn't been a big action that has triggered a full environmental impact statement since then, other than projects that would come forward that had their own environmental process, and those would be triggered by project applicants. So what we are in the process of doing, there's two things that I think this committee would be interested to know. We, every 4 to 5 years, do an environmental threshold evaluation report, and that reports on the hundreds of standards that live underneath the Tahoe Regional Plan and the progress related to those standards. We'll be publishing that report by the end of the year, and we'll be happy to brief this committee, send a full update in whatever fashion this committee would like to know more about that. Happy to do that. That'll be a public process, and we'll be presenting that to our governing board. And then we'll actually be rolling into a process in 2025 where we engage the community. Now that we get that data, that's a very comprehensive look at all 10 categories: air, water, scenic, recreation, on in the 10 categories. And then there are well over 150 standards that live within that. So that's coming this year, and then in 2025, we'll be engaging the community of, well, now that we've got the data, what policies need to change? And that will go into 2025 and will roll right into our annual work plan and budget, which the board, our governing board, adopts in June of next year. So that's one area that's happening, and we can put all this in writing as a response to this item before you now. And then the other opportunity is housing work. We have the phase 3 of affordability housing initiative that the TRPA governing board has been directing our staff to work on. Housing affordability, this committee has heard a lot of public comment about that this interim session. We are doing a full environmental impact statement commencing next year in 2025. And so that is going to look at growth projections for the basin and update all relevant materials. So that's in the works. That is being funded through a grant through the state of California. And a full-blown environmental impact statement generally, costs around $1 million, $1.5 million, and we are funded through the state of California to do that as part of our housing initiative to try to make housing more affordable in the Tahoe Basin. And I'll invite my colleague Devin Middlebrook to add any other comments.
Yeah, Devin Middlebrook, again for the record, TRPA. Just to your last question, Senator Titus, we can absolutely have a response back to this committee this year, so you have time to read it, digest it, ask questions before the start of next year's legislative session.
Well, I would just then, having said that, I think that just sending, maybe changing the wording of this particular letter and sending them a letter requesting clarification and a listing of where they are in the process, what's going to be done when, and the things that Ms. Reagan mentioned now would serve adequately for what we want to do.
Agreed, and thank you. And we're going to send a letter to TRPA. We're going to make sure we get it right, and we may add some other stuff we want in here. I also would make the comment of, we're going to send this letter, we're going to copy it to our counterparts in California, the two that at least represent the portion of the lake, and ask them to send a similar letter. I mean, we can do some things here from Nevada. We can give recommendations. I don't know that we have authority as just one state to say, do this or else. We can make life hard on them, but I don't know that that serves anybody's purpose either. That's why we're trying to get California to send the same letter, so they we will ask them anyway. Gives you a little bit more direction of, yeah, you might want to think about doing this. And if there are other questions or things that you wanted to be added or we're not asking the right questions, somebody send us an email on what we left out, because I'm, not an expert on some of this stuff, but we do want to emphasize that we want to get an update on where you are on the status. We've heard a lot of it from the people up at the lake, and it seems to me like it's an area of criticism that you can remedy. Assemblywoman Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you. I would agree. Thank you for really explaining these are the things that are in motion. It will be great to have that in one place. So I'm glad this is one of our recommendations. And thank you to my colleague, the senator, for bringing it out in that way. So it's really, really clear and really directive. I would suggest as well that as you make that information, put it in one place for us, you do the same for the public. I mean, it's a public document anyway, but being intentional about that, because that's, as you know, in the meetings, and I've been on this committee 10 minutes, right? And there's just a lot of concern about those things that are happening, and a lot of just a lack of understanding of what's happening, what's not, and so on. And information can clear up a lot of that. So I would really recommend that in sharing that with us, that you find the appropriate manner to make sure share with the public as well. Right, because it sounds like there are a lot of good things that are happening that either isn't being shared or whatever, and that help close that gap a lot, and then help us as we formulate some of the other language around all of these BDRs, right, that are going forward, so we can make sure those concerns are all part of that.
Mr. Chair, thank you, Julie Reagan, TRPA Executive Director, for the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman. Absolutely, we want to be forming conversations and working groups with the public, and we'll commit absolutely to engage the public in that way.
And I think they would appreciate that. Thank you so much, Ms. Reagan. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay. So with that, like I said, we do want to share this with California. We want to try to give some direction. We want to get all of the updates that we can. If there's something that we left out for our members of the public, we can add it into the letter if it's appropriate. So with that, I will accept a motion to have the committee draft a letter to the TRPA to give us status updates on a variety of issues.
So moved.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Bilber Axelrod, second from Assemblywoman Taylor. Anything on the questions committee? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And now this one I think is the next one, number 12, is misunderstood by many people, including I think maybe the TRPA, but I will explain. Number 12.
Recommendation number 12 is to send a letter to the TRPA encouraging the agency to utilize the following priorities in its decision-making processes, work, and resources. 1, preservation, protection, and restoration of the lake. 2, enhancing the visitor experience. 3, mitigating impacts on residents. And 4, economic considerations. And this recommendation was submitted by the committee chair.
Committee comments, questions, concerns, explanations?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gray.
Thank you, sir.
Assemblyman Gray, my bad.
And I doesn't offend me. It's okay. I mean, I've been called a lot worse. So on this one, I'm not sure how you came to the hierarchy here. For one, I think when they're evaluating projects in the basin, each project is individual and should be looked at based on its individual merits. If you really, really want to go with having a hierarchy and for the decision-making process and prioritize them, I would have a whole different recommendation, especially moving the impact on residents to the top. They're there 24/7, 365, and then rearranging some of the other ones. Maybe moving 1 to 2, but I just I don't like the idea of prioritizing every single project using the same priority scale. Every project is individually unique and is going to have a different impact on the community, the lake, and the visitor experience.
Understood, and thank you. And I think I said in one of our other committees when we were talking about some of these issues, and I'm not sure if TRPA fully understands where I'm at, but we'll make sure it's clear in the letter. I know that the people that made comments earlier misunderstand what my intention is with 12, and I'll try to defend it. What I think a lot of people miss is whenever you have an oversight or authorizing agency regarding development, City of Sparks, Washoe County, Placer County, California, they all have their rules. They've set up guidelines. You have to meet these criteria in order to develop your project, et cetera. And if they meet the zoning and they've submitted all the proper permits and they've gone through the evaluation and identified the traffic impacts and this impact, et cetera, and they've put the proper mitigations on it. I've seen projects in City of Reno for a convenience store have 26 conditions levied on them, right? You can only deliver at this certain time. You can't have noise over this. You have to have your street lights pointing down on the parking lot, no skylight, those type of things. And I'm sure TRPA has similar type of issues. But on the other side, that developer has the right to develop their land to its highest best use and various things. And I said this earlier. The compact, I think, is a little unique as a oversight regulatory body on development, that they have more tools on what they can and can't do when you're coming forward with the project. So this 12 is not meant to enable TRPA to green light projects based on these things, but to say, all right, Mr. Developer, and you're going to do your, you bought this parcel with 25 acres and you want to build a, 80,000 square foot house and various things. On their priorities, he has the right to develop and do some stuff, but they can add some things under the compact that other jurisdictions cannot. What are you doing? How is this project going to preserve, enhance, and restore the lake at all? And if they can't do that, it's kind of like the City of Reno or whoever says, hey, we really need a school in this subdivision. They can't condition that, but they can hint that they really want to have it and drag their feet on approval, et cetera, until they mitigate or restore, 100 acres somewhere else in the lake. So that's where the priority is. How does your project preserve, enhance, restore the lake? Not a requirement on every 1,000 square foot house or whatever, obviously, but there should be a matrix and a priority on, have you met this element and what are the thresholds we're going to apply to that? Then the second one is, is it going to enhance the visitor experience? Is it going to hurt it on that? And then the third priority on how much is it going to impact the existing residents? And these are extra conditions that TRPA could review. And I just want to say, you need to develop a matrix, a standard, or something that can be applicable, not go afoul of the unlawful taking, because that's a lawsuit that they have. A lot of experience on the development side coming from my previous job with the union. We'd support projects, impose others. And if they've met the zoning, they've met all the criteria, they've met the standard, they spent the money on the high-powered lawyer to dot all the I's and cross all the T's, they get their projects, right? And if the city council or the county commission denies this because, well, the residents don't like it or this or that, and it wasn't a condition that they were able to put on them, when they get sued, they lose regularly, right? Costs everybody a lot of time and money, and everybody's still unhappy, and developer gets what he wants. Compact, I think, is a little more unique. I think you can develop and use some of these tools, not to give license to people to develop more, but to give you more tools to say, how can we make all of these other things that are happening in the lake better, including, or if your project goes forward. So I'm looking at TRPA saying that's what I mean by develop this matrix, and these are the order: preserve the lake, restore the lake, make sure that visitors still have access to the lake, make sure that the residents are not overly, any visitor is going to adversely impact you. I think I told you guys that at one point, September 25th, 1959 was a great day in northern Nevada. That's when I was born. And everybody that's moved here since then has impacted my life negatively, and I want you to leave. That's not going to happen. So let's be real about this. And the fourth consideration, the last consideration, is the economic impact. That's not number one. That's like down the list. That's my thought process on that. You can agree or disagree, but that's the letter I think we're going to get a motion to pass. Yep, Senator Titus, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate your comments and your reasons for putting this on, and sharing your birth date. I got that. I now know that I'm the senior member of this committee. I'm not going to share my birth date. Having said all that, kidding aside, I'm just wondering don't they have kind of a list now that they use when they look at these things? And I think I need some clarification on what's the current process when they do that little check off of when there's their decision-making process.
And before we hear from them, so you're going to hear that absolutely, yes, they do. And they may not be in this order or with this understanding or criteria. I just want them to start thinking about it a little bit more on what is your project going to do to enhance the lake. I mean, we all hear the story, and Zuckerberg bought up 2 parcels at the lake, and he has the right to develop it, and he's got the money and the wherewithal and the experts to get everything that he wants. Doesn't matter how long it takes, he'll pay the money. But he's doing nothing to mitigate any impacts. Not that he's one guy, but he flies in from a helicopter. He probably doesn't impact anybody, right? But he's doing nothing to restore the lake, all of those types of things. And I think they can at least have as a matrix and a priority is what is your project doing to address this? And maybe they can't condition it, but they can sure make things maybe slow down. I probably shouldn't say that, but they absolutely have a process, and I'm just not sure that it's working as well as it could with the tools they have in the compact.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, you're up.
If I may jump in. Thank you very much, Chairman Daley, members of the committee, and thank you for the question, Senator. Julie Reagan, TRPA's Executive Director. And yes, we do have a process, and we've had a lot of back and forth in this question with Senator Daley, because the compact is our constitution. So we tier from the compact, and then the regional plan, we have the environmental standards. Any project that goes forward has to be demonstrated not to adversely impact those standards. And so we're not quite sure how to move forward in terms of a matrix. So I think what we'd commit to do is we'd be happy to receive a letter to explore options around this. It's a matter that we'd have to take to our governing board. Whatever change to our rules of procedure, our project application review, adopting such a document, that would be up to the board. And the board has its own independent authority from the compact going forward. And so it does involve both sides of the state line, California and Nevada, in terms of agreement, and that's a process to go through. But I think we're very happy that we hear the sentiment. The sentiment that's being expressed as part of this conversation is something our board has expressed as well. I mentioned the next phase of our housing policy work. There's a huge equity focus in that. So the environmental impact report that we're doing actually will explore new opportunities. Think of a sliding scale. Right now, if you build a single-family home that's 2,000 square feet, it's one development right, and certain mitigation fees go with that. If you build a much larger home, it's still one development right. So we're exploring options to have more of a sliding scale where there are impact fees that really relate to the larger size of that home or other impacts that might be there. But we have to explore that in the environmental review, which is going to take another year or two. So there's a process to go through to, I think, achieve what the underlying concerns are from what I'm hearing, and we're willing to explore that. And then, of course, when the compact was amended, in 2013, both states amended the TRPA compact, which had not been amended since 1980 previously, and that was part of California and Nevada recommitting to the compact. And one of the additions to the compact now that we operate under was to consider economic measures and have economic considerations as part of decision making. That was already a part of our thought process, but it wasn't specifically called out in the compact, and now that is in the compact, and that was the last update from 2013 in the states, and then Congress has to consent to that, which happened in 2016. But we don't have an economic standard or a threshold standard, and so I wanted to just point that out for the record.
And I do recall in our previous stuff, I can regurgitate some of the information that we knew about that amendment and Senator Lee and wanting to pull out and the whole deal. It says that you have to have an economic consideration. You don't have any standards around it. What I'm saying is that that's not the top priority. It's a consideration, and it doesn't say how much consideration it has to be. They wanted it to be a priority. But I think so. You have to have economic activity at the lake. Businesses have to have customers. Customers have to have people to do things at the lake. I just think you have unique tools within the compact. And if you guys are creative and tell your board that, they're independent, they can do all of this stuff. But, you don't want us to do to you what I'm suggesting you do to these people that want to develop.
Mr. Chair, may I follow up with those?
Yes.
So what I'm hearing mostly is that they already have a process, and sending them a letter to list yours in order is all well and good. But again, I'm concerned about, because there is a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, there is seems like a hierarchy, and I do oppose the not putting the impact on residents as higher. But I don't really think this letter necessarily has to happen. In my mind, if we're going to send a letter, we should be sending a letter to our cohorts in the California side requesting a meeting to discuss some of these things that we would require them to have too before sending a letter to the TRPA. I think we're going about it in the wrong way, and I'm discouraged that we don't have actually more of an emphasis here that says we as a body, this Tahoe Oversight Committee, wants to meet with the delegates from California to get some of these things hashed out, as opposed to putting it on the plate of the TRPA.
Understood. Like I said, people may agree or disagree with where we're at. Obviously, this letter would be sent to the California delegation with a request for them to send a similar or their own version of the letter, and we will try to explain in the letter what our reasoning is behind it. And we have heard, like I said before, you got a people problem. You got the people that are at the lake. You got the people that want to visit the lake. They each have their own set of concerns, and they're not mutually exclusive. And either one has the right to, to totally impact or negate the other. And we have to navigate that. And, I've learned a long time ago that you can't make everybody happy all of the time. Some people you can never make happy. Right? So we're going to move forward, do the best we can. I think giving some direction to try to get your board to think of it differently, to utilize the tools you have, to address some of these things. If a developer has got the money to spend on it anyway, Zuckerberg could, fix a lot of problems with what he lost in the stock market 2 weeks ago in one day. So.
Mr. Chair,
and I don't mean to pick on Zuckerberg, Musk, the rest of them all the same.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Julie Reagan, TRPA Executive Director for the record again. I just, again, want to express, I mean, we want to be responsive to this committee, and we have also been hearing those concerns expressed from the community at our governing board, and our governing board is committed, and I think shares a lot of the same concerns that you do. So happy to address the letter. We do have some legal parameters that we have to work within under the compact and the bi-state nature of our work. So happy to look at that, and I want to invite my colleague Devin to echo the comments.
Yes, Devin Middlebrook, TRPA for the record. Chair, if I may ask a clarifying question on the visitors item. When you're talking about visitors, are you defining that purely as visitors to the region who do not live in the basin, or visitors to the public lands? For example, myself as a born and raised resident of the Tahoe Basin, when I go out and recreate on our trails or our beaches, I am visiting our public lands, so just want some clarification on that term.
Visitors are visitors, right? Residents are residents. Sometimes they can be visitors and residents, but generally not the other direction. So the visitor experience, it's nobody owns the lake, public lake. People have the right to come and visit the lake, and we don't want to. I know people have said you got a limited capacity and all this stuff. I don't think there should be an entrance fee. We need to try to make the experience we can for as many people that we can accommodate. Some overcrowding is going to fix the problems itself. And if you come back and when you look at this and you get the letter and you say, hey, we're trying to think of this and we can't really do this because you have legal parameters and various things, and it takes a change of the compact, then make that recommendation, right? And I'm sure, and we did, try to reach out to some of our California counterparts. We did have a discussion with a couple of them, but it took a lot to even get that far. But what we heard from the ones we did talk to is that in California, same as Nevada, there's a lot of love for the lake. There's a lot of people that will do some things to try to get the lake going. So those 4 priorities in that order are the ones that I envision and see. Preserving, protecting the lake, always going to be number 1. People that are trying to utilize the lake, those visitors, I think they have as much a right as the people that live there to enjoy the lake. But we don't want to just trample over the residents as well. And the economic concerns, I need to have this, new hotel or new condo or whatever. No, you don't. How many acres of wetlands are you going to restore? Not exactly like that, but you can figure it out. Yeah, I'm ready for a motion.
I would make the motion to send a letter to TRPA encouraging the agency to utilize the following priorities when its decision-making process, work, and resources. 1, preservation, protection, and restoration of the lake. 2, enhancing the visitor experience, which can also be residents. 3, mitigating impacts of the residents. And 4, economic considerations.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Bilber Axelrod, a second from Assemblywoman Taylor. Any questions, comments on the motion? Senator Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be a no on this motion. I just think it's, although well-intended, it's not the direction I would prefer that we go. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further comments. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so let the record show that Senator Titus and Assemblyman Gray are in opposition. Motion carries. All right, G, or number 13, excuse me.
The final recommendation for the committee's consideration is to send a letter to the TRPA encouraging TRPA to consider exempting local events from the current restrictions on the total number of events and activities which can take place at the Tahoe Blue Event Center per year. The letter would also request that TRPA provide an update on the status of permit restrictions at the Center for Local Events prior to the start of the 2025 legislative session.
Committee, any questions, comments? Vice Chair?
Thank you very much for bringing this forward. One of our first trips on our field trips up there was to look at this event center, which is beautiful. And one thing from talking to residents, it seemed like local residents, we were not being able to access and have meetings there and do things like Girl Scout meetings, and some of the nice conference rooms are having a small event, for a school group. So once again, as a mom, I'm happy with where this came out. I think we still have some work to figure out what that's going to really look like, but just to have that ability to help with the local folks to access that beautiful center, I'm very much in favor. Thank you.
Assemblyman Gray.
Thank you, Chair. I really appreciate this coming forward, too. That's one thing I've heard consistently is about the community being able to use that facility. That's one reason I actually had, I'll say it honestly, jockeyed on this committee. I really hope my compatriots up here will see fit to do that also. And I would also really like to encourage the TRPA to look at removing all of the restrictions on the events. That's not today, but it's just... I don't know that the science is there to really back it up at this point. So it's really impeding Douglas County and the lake. They could be doing some great things up there. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just make a quick comment. So the former chair of this committee said, I hate this one. And I said, okay. And I told her, I said, look, it's a letter, this is my intent, to the TRPA to review the policy, make adjustments if they're warranted. So look at it, but I do believe allowing local events to not count towards the 130 days is doable, not going to have major impacts, will go a long way to help Douglas County, help South Lake Tahoe, because they use it as much as anybody else. Those events are going to go someplace in the basin, especially if they're local events, and then you don't get the $4 per ticket. So I'm just saying. All right. Ready for a motion, committee?
So moved.
Yeah. Assemblyman Gray moves to approve sending a letter as outlined in work session number 13.
I'll second.
Second from Senator Titus. Committee, anything on the questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I think that brings us to the end of our work session document. So we will close agenda item number 4, which then brings us to our second period of public comment. Same as before, 2 minutes, state your name, make sure you turn on the mic. And we will proceed. So, yeah, fill up the chairs if you're all coming up. You can proceed whenever you'd like.
Doug Flaherty, Tahoe, cleanair.org, FLAHERTY. TRPA fears a supplemental EIS to the 2012 regional plan more than they fear God. Their own code of ordinances and rules of procedure, I've read them several times, allow this to happen. They will not do it. Supplemental EISs are usually undertaken for new information or changes that are significant and substantial since the 2012 regional plan. Let's name a few. How about an increase in millions of visitors since 2012? How about 10 of the largest wildfires in the last 10 years? How about the emergence of best practices on the California side of the California Attorney General stating that they need to do wildfire evacuation plans? Let's see, what else? Oh, how about Highway 50 being branded as a wildfire evacuation route? And on and on and on. Pay no attention to the housing policy red herring she threw out there. That was taking you down a rabbit hole. Please stick to your letter. I'm sorry, Senator Titus, you seem to be swayed by this dog and pony show. A supplemental EIS, have your council look at it. It's in the TRPA Code of Ordinances. Please have them report to you and do this. Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you. There are some things we can agree on, that's for sure.
Pamela Sigdinis. I'd like to just add to what Doug just mentioned. Without an environmentally healthy lake, and we need those measurements, we need them now, there will be no visitors or residents. Have you considered where the millions of visitors to the East Shore Trail relieve themselves? The lake is our drinking water source. So yeah, gross. I would like to express my deep disappointment that this committee, which is the only legislative body with TRPA oversight, chose never to dedicate one of 6 full committee meetings to in-depth presentations and related legislative recommendations from Tahoe residents. Really, we are your constituents. Shutting us out is frankly undemocratic. 2 minutes does not give us adequate time to fully illuminate the challenges that our communities face on a daily basis. The people, your constituents, cannot vote out TRPA leadership or the TTD. Worse, they are accountable to no one. With free rein, these agencies and their tourism-driven partners have been the architects of many of Tahoe's problems. TRPA's decisions and partners have consistently advocated for reckless tourism over environmental impacts and public safety. They obfuscate at hiding environmental data and kicking the can down the road. By not championing an environmental impact review that includes a carrying capacity with understanding that we need clear evacuation data, this committee has done a great disservice to the lake, the people who live here, and those who visit as well. Thank you.
Committee members, Ellie Waller, I write comprehensive, in the weeds comments I know that don't get read, but they need to be put into the record, which I'm glad some of them have. I think I start with my first disappointment is, yes, the citizens of Douglas County, for which I am, who live in the Carson Valley, also believe that we should be using the event center, but not at the expense of allowing TRPA to change a permitted condition, as we've talked, that they can do to allow this to happen. There's no parking at that event center. The people that come up, yes, the citizens, the Girl Scouts, everybody should be able to use it. But this mitigation is because there's no parking there. When the citizens come up, you have to look at the weeds and in the details. They're going to pay for parking. Is Douglas County going to make arrangements with the casinos to allow free parking for the residents? This was a controversial issue during one of many controversial issues on the event center. Next, please get educated in the business improvement district taxing, not just a fee. I beg you to understand that. The 777 strategy. I am from Douglas County. We are the smallest populated jurisdiction around the lake. 7 million from a smaller county is may be unattainable. I'm not saying that we shouldn't pay our fair share, just like Nevada pays their fair share 1/3. That segues into how much money did we look at today in possible approvals where duplicity, in my opinion, is happening. We don't have accountability in the process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Learnhardt, Your Honor, and committee members. I want to continue the fire evacuation process on Highway 50. It is unclear to me how it cannot, it has been designated, the Highway 50 has been designated by TRPA, most likely in order to obtain grant money as a urban street, and then they turn around and try to make a road diet applicable to it, which by the term is reducing 4 lanes into 2 lanes. This can and this road diets they're only applicable to non-arterial urban routes. Well, it's not. You've all driven up there many times now. You see it's a high alpine route. It is not an urban route. Do we have to follow along with this bizarre grant application that is twisted to their money trail rather than to the safety of the locals? You need to look at this. This has to be redesignated. It has to be a federal evacuation route. Thank you for your attention.
Hello, Niobe Burden, North Shore resident and conservation photographer. I'm very disappointed that, again, none of the following critical issues presented multiple times by the public have been addressed as additional items to the work session document today. The need for a TRPA to initiate a basin-wide carrying capacity study, a roadway by roadway wildfire evacuation study for public safety, or a comprehensive environmental analysis considering cumulative impacts since the 2012 regional plan. What environmental impact does it take for this to happen? Will any of these issues be addressed in the committee's final report, one way or another? Secondly, I don't understand why a minor adjustment to wording wasn't considered for item 5C, quote, to add tribal representative member position to the TTD Board of Directors to be filled at the Washow's discretion. Thirdly, with regard to 5D, I impose a public transit surcharge to per night charge for transient lodging in the Lake Tahoe Basin. I would recommend discouraging fees on overnight guests where TOT fees are already being charged, and we actually should be encouraging longer stays where visitors learn to love and want to protect the lake, but then charge a fee of mitigation to day visitors entering the basin who are the primary cause of many of the traffic and pollution issues that we are trying to mitigate. I assume there is ongoing data collection on day visitors versus overnight guests. This needs to be more thought, and have the intended effect. This revenue for intended transportation enhancements needs to make public transit efficient enough to discourage the use of private vehicles for day visitors. If I had more time, I'd be happy to include more constructive conversation, and I wish the public had that opportunity with the committee at one of these sessions. Thank you for your time.
Toby Tyler with this Tahoe Area Sierra Club again. Following up on what Niobe said, we need an EIS, drastically need an EIS to look at cumulative impacts since 2012 RPU, the regional plan update, and we need carrying capacity study. We need that right now. We need that before any more area plans are approved by TRPA. Regarding number 12, I appreciate preserving the lake at the top. Thank you very much for that. But I suggest you consider combining 2 and 3, stating as follows: balance the impacts on residents with enhancing the visitor experience. I think that would be a big improvement. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment here in Carson City? Not seeing any. Do we? Okay, you ruined it. I'm kidding.
Really, I didn't make this explicitly clear. Julie Reagan, TRPA's Executive Director. I just want to thank this committee for your time. It's been an incredible experience to work through issues, and I want to thank the public for their time and energy, and just reassert TRPA's commitment to work with the community to address a lot of these concerns, because our team lives in the basin. We all love the lake, and we want to work together to find solutions. So thank you for your energy and your time and your passion for the lake.
Thank you. So seeing no other in person here in Carson City, is anybody in the building in Southern Nevada that wants to come and talk to us? I am not seeing anybody. Broadcasting, let's go to the phones.
Thank you, Chair. To participate in public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to participate in public comment, please press star 9. Chair, we have no callers wishing to participate at this time.
Thank you. So before we, Senator Titus.
Thank you. I may have jumped in here. You probably were going to take comments from members, and so if that's where we're going, that's what I was going to do.
Actually, I was going to thank staff and everybody for making the work go smoothly. But if you'd like to make a comment, or anybody else, feel free.
Thank you, and that's exactly where I was going, Mr. Chair. I just want to acknowledge that it was actually a pleasure serving on this committee. I enjoyed our time up at Lake Tahoe, although the very first committee that we took a tour up there, I certainly recognize that one of our committee members may have frozen to death without the assistance of staff that brought her some warm clothing and coats, and so it was that kind of, so staff was very good on this, and I appreciate that. Also, the members of the community showing up as you have. Each and every member, minutes, every meeting, sharing your concerns did not go unnoticed. Believe me, I heard you, and I want to thank that because you all are our constituents, and so being responsible to that the best we can, I appreciate that. And then again, TRPA, you have come under fire a lot on this. I appreciate your professionalism, answering my questions when I reached out, and not being running away from the questions that I had for you. So all along, Mr. Chair, I want to thank you, sir, for your energy and your time that you put into this, and you took it seriously, and I appreciate that, and just want to acknowledge you. Thank you.
Vice Chair? Yes.
Thank you. And that was me who forgot their coat in the back seat of my car when my husband dropped me off at the airport. And so, yes, thank you. I would have frozen to death. I'm a Vegas girl. But I, too, have enjoyed my time immensely. I have heard the citizens of Tahoe, you are so lucky to live up here, and I know you know that, and we're very jealous down in Southern Nevada. I almost said Tahoe, California. I don't live in. Look at my Nevada ears. But thank you again to the TRPA, and mostly I want to thank this chair. We, for the first time, reached out to our California legislators and are working because it is one lake, and I can't believe that we don't normally do that. So I hope that is now just a tradition that this committee will continue to do, because I do think it's so important when they pass the law there and we don't do it, all of a sudden you have different laws once you cross state lines. And obviously that does happen, but we're talking about one basin. So things that actually really affect this basin, really, it should be uniform. So thank you, Chair, for doing that. And I flew up here on my own dime because it was not an official meeting, but I was happy to do it, and I think we got some really great information. And thank you all for spending time out of your day to come up here and be passionate about these issues. And thank you for bringing me into your community.
Assemblywoman Taylor.
Thank you. I decided I wanted to say something when Senator Titus did. As one of the new people on the committee, I've learned so much. And I want to encourage all of you that protect and that love and that take care of one of, I think, the most beautiful parts of our country, for really of the world, right? I haven't gotten all of that yet, but for continuing to do so. I mean, these are still works in progress when they're BDRs, so there's room. There's some suggestions that came out even in your closing comments that I think there's room for. So stay in that. Help us as we get to a place that's the best place to be at. I appreciate the work of TRPA and the staff. I really appreciate the work of our chair, who's done just an amazing job, and really the colleagues that I serve with. But mostly, honestly, I appreciate you. So stay in that, because everybody is trying to get to a great place with this, and it's going to take all of us to get there. But we cannot get there. I cannot get there without you. I mean, you have forgotten more about the lake than I know. And so I need you to stay in there with us so we can get to great places. I think we're on the way, but we'll take some turns along the way, but we need you to get there. So stay in it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for the honor of being on this committee.
Our most senior member in Las Vegas, you got any comments?
Thank
I mean,
you, Chair.
senior as being on the committee longer.
I knew what you meant. I'll echo my colleagues' comments, just thanking everybody for their time and dedication to protecting Lake Tahoe and being here every meeting to help us as we take on our charge as the Oversight Committee. And I love serving on this committee, and thank you all for being here.
Okay, and thank you. And what I was going to do was thank our staff, policy analysts, legal secretaries, people that put these things together, get the notices out, all of which they do behind the scenes. Then they send me an email and say, "Is this good?" Right? So their ideas that came from me, came from suggestions. We'll try to do better to communicate that the public can put in suggestions as well. In the future, we do hope to continue talking with our counterparts in California. I know most of you guys here are on the Nevada side. Feel free to talk to the legislators in California. Be nice to them. We need them to concur with what we're trying to go with. And then I wanted to thank the committee and everybody that put up with all of the stuff that we had. It was good. Like I said, when I first introduced, it's the first time for me on this committee. I've lived here all of my life. I've learned a lot of things, and I do know that in a perfect world, things would be different. But that's not what we have. So we're going to do the best that we can. Whether everybody's happy with everything we do, we're trying to still push forward. I hope you appreciate and understand that. So thanks to our vice chair, thanks to our Republican component of our committee. You guys were helpful, and that's what it's about. Senator Scheibel for, nudging me into this and saying, "You do it, I don't want to." No, I'm kidding. No, happy to have chaired the meeting, and I do know that we'll have different people next time. The chair will be somebody from the assembly if we follow the tradition, and our two assembly members here, maybe our third assembly member won't be on the committee next time. So we'll have new people, and there'll be a learning curve on that as well. But normally we don't take additional public comment at the end. But yeah, well, your legislators? There isn't a counterpart committee. Nevada has the Oversight Committee. California does not have the Oversight Committee. California has a governor appointee. We also have a governor appointee on the TRPA board, but California has two actual members on the board appointed by the legislatures, as I understand it. So they don't have a similar structure. They don't have it. No, that's, anyway, we're off of our agenda. We can take this offline after the committee's over. Yeah. Any other comments from the committee? Again, thank you, staff. Thank you, committee members. With that, we are, let me grab my gavel, adjourned.